Hi everyone, it's Mike, KD2KOG, part of the technical support team at SDR Play. In this video I'd like to demonstrate how I set up my Raspberry Pi 4, SDR++, and SDR-angel with my RSPdx. Now I have used SDR++ and SDR-angel in Windows, but I recently discovered that both software packages also run great on the Raspberry Pi 4, and you can use any of the RSPs. Before we get started, I have several important things to outline. This video will not cover every single feature and function these two packages offer. A lot of the fun comes from exploring and sharing knowledge, and I hope this video accomplishes that. As I mentioned earlier, you can use any model RSP from SDR Play. In this video I'm using an RSPdx. I'm not sure if this setup will work with anything less than a Pi 4 with 2 GB of memory. The scripts used in this video will take some time to install, so please be patient. Since I'm using a 2 GB Pi 4, the SDR-angel scripts only make use of one of the 4 cores, so we don't run out of memory during compiling. If you're using a Raspberry Pi 4 greater than 2 GB, you can change a statement used for installing SDR-angel to make use of all 4 cores. Information will be in the video description. At minimum, I recommend a 32 GB SD card. Make sure it's class 10 or better, and stick to brand name SD cards to ensure reliability. The USB cable. Not all cables are created equal. I highly recommend a Triplite A to B USB cable. I will leave a link to that also in the video description. The OS is Bullseye with desktop, which at the time of this video is the latest release. I'm not sure if this setup is going to work with anything less than Bullseye. Support. As most of you know, I'm a die-hard SDR Uno Windows user. Linux is a bit foreign to me, but I'm making progress. Well, baby steps. If you run into issues, I can help you, and please don't open a support ticket with SDR Play, but I will leave links in the video description. These links will bring you directly to the developer for any questions or issues you might have. If a feature or function is not working properly, it's not the hardware, but please let the developer know if you run into any issues with their application. Most of this setup takes place in the terminal. I will leave a download link and a copy of the commands used in this video within the video description. You can download the text file which lists all the commands executed throughout this video. This will make installation and following along easier for you. Just copy and paste them one at a time in terminal. The scripts used in this video will take time to install, so again, please be patient. After hearing all this, you might be saying, what is the point of this video? And that's a very good question. SDR++ and SDR-angel are both very popular programs and support all model RSPs. These programs offer a lot of features and functions not found in other software packages. Now for me, Linux is a bit intimidating, and many times I was looking for excuses not to do this video. I had a lot of hiccups, but the good news is I've tested this setup for a little over a month now, and I'm really impressed with it. I certainly can't take credit for everything you see in this video, especially the install scripts provided. That credit goes to my colleagues Andy and Simon. They both helped me out tremendously. Thank you guys. Now go grab your beverage of choice and I'll demonstrate a complete setup from start to finish. There's a few things I want to mention before we download the ISO image and the Raspberry Pi imager. Number one, I know Raspberry Pis are very hard to come by. I found a website, it's rpilocator.com, and this is the URL with the information. I'll leave a link in the video description. What this site does is it checks all the official distributors and their stock levels, and it updates in real time. This is where you can possibly get your hands on a Raspberry Pi 4. Now the hardware is a Raspberry Pi 4 with 2 gigs or better. Remember, it has to be 2 GB of memory or better, or this is probably not going to work. I also recommend using a Raspberry Pi 4 case that includes a fan. I'm not sure if the system is going to overheat, or even the stability of just using a Raspberry Pi 4 with just heat sinks installed. I'm using an Argon Poly Plus with included heat sinks and included fan. I'll leave a link in the video description. It's very inexpensive and it keeps the Pi nice and cool, and I found it to be very reliable. Okay, so let's download the ISO image, the Raspberry Pi imager, and let's go ahead and burn that image and get going. Alright, we're on raspberrypi.com. Let's go to software. Let's download the Raspberry Pi imager software. Let's scroll down, see all downloads, and select Raspberry Pi OS with desktop. And let's click download. Raspberry Pi imager can download the latest Pi OS image for you, but I prefer to use the manual option to download the Bullseye ISO and have the Raspberry Pi imager write that file for me. Just in case if I run into any issues, I can just rewrite the card without having to re-download the Pi OS image. Okay, so that's going to take a little bit, and I'm going to pause the video and we'll get the SD card prepared for writing the image. Okay, the image is just about finished downloading. I can go ahead and install the Raspberry Pi imager software. Let's bring this into view. We'll click install and we will run it. Bring the Raspberry Pi imager into view, and what we want to do is choose an OS, scroll down, use custom. The image we just downloaded is there. We want to choose storage. It's right there. And select write. This is going to take a little bit, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, it's just about completed. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the SD card out. We'll put it into the Raspberry Pi 4. I'll launch the Raspberry Pi OS and we'll video capture from there. Okay, so the card is in, the Pi 4 is powered on, and it's going to go through a few things in the very beginning. And we're going to need to set a few options before we download all the updates and then start the actual installation of the RSP API and SDR++ and SDR-angel. All right, we're up to the desktop. Let's go ahead and click next. Let's select the country, the language, and the time zone. Okay, let's also select the password and click next. And click next again. Let me select my Wi-Fi and enter the password. Okay, that was successful. Let's click next. It's going to look for updates, and I'm going to allow them to all install. I'm going to pause the video again because this might take a considerable amount of time, and I don't want to waste your time. So I'll see you guys when the updates are finished. The update's just completed. I'm going to click OK, select Done, and I'm going to reboot the Pi. All right, the Pi is coming back online. I'm going to change one option, and that is screen blanking. I'm actually going to change two options. I'm going to change the output, and I'm going to change the option to have the screen not blank after X amount of time. So let's go ahead and set the output first. I'm going to right-click the speaker icon. I can either use the AV jack as an output or HDMI. I definitely want HDMI, so this way the video captures the audio. And then I'm going to go to Preferences, Raspberry Pi Configuration, and the only option that I change is under Display. And that is to uncheck screen blanking. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to ask me to reboot. Obviously, I'm going to reboot again. And I'll see you guys when that part is finished. Now that we're back at the desktop, let's go ahead and launch a browser and let's download the script files that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to select the browser, and the URL I'm going to visit is https://sdrplay.com/resources/kd2kog_commands.txt. And I'm going to type that in, and it's also going to be all of these commands, like I said earlier, are going to be in the video description because it will make things a lot easier for you. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we have the list of commands right here. Let's move this over. And the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to download the API. So let's go ahead and open up Terminal. Let's go into our download folder. So cd space tilde, and then we're going to do /D OW and tab for tab completion. And then let's go ahead and just copy and paste this wget command. Okay, that's completed. Let's run the chmod command. Okay, that's completed, and let's run it. Arrow down, whoops, sorry, hit enter, and then you can arrow down to scroll through this quickly. Hit Y, and it's going to install the RSP API. Okay, that part is finished. Now let's go ahead and download SDR++. And we'll get the next command ready. And this takes about 45 minutes to build SDR++. I timed everything previously. So let's go ahead and paste that in. And I'll see you guys in 45 minutes. Okay, SDR++ is finished installing. Let's go ahead and install SDRangel. SDRangel is going to take about 5 hours to compile on a Raspberry Pi 4 with 2 gigabytes. Now remember I said earlier, the command that I'm issuing to compile this is only taking advantage of one of the 4 cores on the Raspberry Pi 4 2 gigabyte model. If you have more than 2 gigs of RAM, there is another command you can issue which will make use of all 4 cores, and I'll leave that in the video's description. So let's go ahead and just copy and paste these commands in and we'll get going. Okay, that's done. Let's go ahead and get the wisdom file compiled and ready to go. You can just run SDRangel by typing SDRangel at the command prompt. However, it takes a very long time to start. So we have found this additional piece of software that hugely speeds up the starting of the software. Now the wisdom file is going to take about 45 minutes, and this is the last step of this whole installation process. Okay, the wisdom file is now created. Let's just do a quick test before I reboot, plug in an RSPdx and use the applications. So let's just make sure SDR++ is installed and functioning properly. That looks okay. Let's copy and paste the command we need to launch SDRangel. We need to open up another terminal window, and we'll just do a copy and paste. And that's looking good. All right, we got through the major part of this. Now let's go through the software. Okay, we have all the software installed. We compiled from source. Let's go ahead and launch SDR++, and I'll show you some of the basic features and functions of this application. The first thing we're going to want to do is select the source. So let's just let this load up. And we're going to change the source. We'll select SDR Play. The device is an RSPdx. You have a choice of different IF modes, 0 IF or low IF. We'll leave everything at default. We have our LNA gain, our IF gain. So let's go ahead and click play. Let's raise the gain a bit. And there should be an FM signal right about here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to lower the volume because I don't want to get a copyright strike. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the signal. Let's bring this down all the way. And here's our current, the current VFO frequency. So we have kilohertz, megahertz, hertz, kilohertz, megahertz, and gigahertz. And we'll scroll down on the left side. The left side is showing all the various options within this application. And let's just see what we have. We have our different modes that we can select here. The bandwidth, so if we change the bandwidth within the spectrum, it's going to show over here, or we can manually change it. Let's just key in one. Let's key in, I would say, let's try 196. Okay, perfect. Let's scroll down a little bit more. And we can record audio or IQ. We have our frequency manager here. BFO color. Band plane, that's going to show the different bands within the spectrum. So let's set that for the United States. And we have our display here if we want to show the waterfall or not. Various themes. Word control. Basically, it's what you're going to want to keep open if you're going to be using SDR++ is, let's bring this back up to the top. So this way I can show you. I would leave the source and the radio open. Once the other settings are set, I don't think they're necessary to leave those expanded. It would just make things, if you're not used to this, maybe a little bit more confusing than it should be. The modes are here, and that's pretty simple. That's very easy to use, believe it or not. So we can point and click within the spectrum. We can tune up and down the band using the mouse wheel. We can click above the digit to go to increment. And to decrement, we can click below, or we can just use our mouse wheel. We have our various tuning option here. I believe this is going to snap to center, or if it's going to stay within, and then we can click. Let's say, yeah, that's snapping. Our S meter. And we can show or hide the menu options that are on the left. Now this might seem very basic, but this is very powerful. This is on a Raspberry Pi 4. Yeah, I'm really liking SDR++. Very good. All right, I'm going to shut this one down, and the next one is going to be SDR-angel. Now SDR-angel is a little bit more involved as far as the setup goes and getting things up and running, let's say. So let me shut this down, and we'll do SDR-angel. Okay, let's launch SDR-angel, and I'll show you some of the basic features and functions that this software application has. And one of the good things about SDR-angel is all of its built-in decoders. And this frequency readout is a little bit different. It's kilohertz, megahertz, and gigahertz. So we'll go ahead and click play, and we should see a spectrum, which we do. We have our various tuner options here, our input options. I have a cross-country wireless into a ELAD ASA 16, going into ports A and C, and on port B I have an ADS-B antenna. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the basic workflow of SDR-angel. It's basically, this left side is the radio control, the spectrum control, the actual spectrum, and waterfall. And then you have the option here, which is channels. And for any demodulation or decoding, you have to add a channel. So let's just go ahead and we'll start with ADS-B. Okay, let's use SDR-angel to decode ADS-B. The antenna I'm using is a dedicated ADS-B antenna, which is ideal for ADS-B transmissions, but the location of my antenna is not an ideal location. It just so happens that I am in an antenna restricted HOA residence, and the antenna is placed indoors. I could still pick up ADS-B transmissions, but not as ideal as if this antenna was placed outdoors. But let me go ahead and demonstrate what I can pick up using SDR-angel and the RSPdx. And the antenna is on port B. So let's go ahead and select port B. We will click play. Let's tune to 1090, which is right over here. Let's make sure our bandwidth is, we'll set that to 5. And we're going to add the ADS-B decoder. We'll adjust the gain a bit. And we'll just keep an eye on this section here. And this is where the decodes will appear. Now, if you want to change any of the ADS-B options, you can do so at the top of the module, which is here. For your position, that's going to be under Preferences, and then My Position. And you're going to want to put your lat and your long, and give the station a meaningful name. This way it appears on the map. We'll wait for a couple of planes to show up, and then I'll zoom in on the map and we'll see where they are. And these are the two aircraft right here. Now let's go ahead and change the map background. Okay, let's test the DSD demodulator that's built into SDR-angel. My hotspot is on 446.500. Let's go ahead and click play. Let me set the sample rate, the gain, and we can bring this a little bit higher. Let me grab my portable radio and we'll key up worldwide.
Oscar, Yankee Delta Victor, Oscar. Then come around.
Let's make sure that the squelch is off.
Yankee Bravo 1 Bravo Uniform Lima. Yankee
And hopefully you
Bravo
guys are hearing the modulated
Bravo
audio.
Uniform Lima.
And this is all done in SDR-angel.
Delta 1 India.
And if you're not able to hear audio, let me scroll down a bit. You can see the various time slot 1 and time slot 2, and who is keying up that time slot. And it will tell you the exact mode, the digital mode that it's decoding.
Yankee Bravo 1 Bravo Uniform Lima. Okay. Second call. Do we have any more check-ins from Indonesia? Please come now.
Okay, and for the last demonstration, let's take a look at the medium wave band and the FM broadcast band, and then we'll summarize and conclude this video. The medium wave band, I can let the volume go through, so we'll be able to hear the demodulation. With the FM broadcast band, I'm going to leave it muted. I don't want to get a copyright strike on this video. So let's go ahead and bring ourselves down to the medium wave portion of the spectrum. We could say right about 530 should be fine. Let's check our input is correct. That's fine. Let's click play. Sample rate is fine. Bandwidth is fine. We see signals here. Let's just go ahead and add a AM demodulator. Bring the squelch down, and I'll tune up and down the band a bit. The bandwidth is set for 5K. That's we can increase that a bit. Let's set that to about 8. And we'll disengage the squelch.
Amen. What do you make of the Super Bowl overall? It got, I mean, without Mahomes and Brady last year, it's still going to...
5440 to walk down memory lane. Guys, check this out for your wife. She'll think you're the most awesome.
Now, hopefully you guys are hearing transmissions.
Lifetime. Visit legacybox.com/Dan B to save 40%.
Team or the Bengals.
Entretenimiento.
Okay, and let's do the same thing with the FM broadcast band. Let's just close out this demodulator. We'll leave the device stream running, and I'll add a broadcast FM demodulator. Click apply, and let's tune to the broadcast band for FM. All right, here's the station.
Your AC needs to be top-notch and ready to go.
Let me disengage the squelch, and I'll raise the volume really quick.
Schedule. Not going to hold you hostage. They know that time is money, and you don't want to be sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's what makes them the best. They're a trained company.
Circle K. You can save up to 20.
Okay, next, as I said earlier, we'll summarize both software packages and we'll conclude this video. This version of SDR-angel is the last known version to work with Raspberry Pi. Changes have been made to SDR-angel which have unfortunately broken the ability to compile it on Bullseye. The same could happen in the future with SDR++. Now we have seen issues in SDR-angel with decimation, which cause aliasing in images, and low IF mode seems to be not functioning properly. When it comes to performance of either package, it's very important to understand that SDR-Uno should always be the reference point to understanding the performance of the hardware. There are shortcomings in both packages, but the developers are rolling out updates almost daily. If you do see an issue, I can help you, and please don't create a support ticket with SDR Play. Instead, let the developers know. They would benefit from any constructive feedback that you guys might have for them. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. If you like this video, certainly give it a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, give it a thumbs down. If you do give it a thumbs down, which I'm completely fine with, just leave a comment in the comment section. What could I have done to improve this video? I'm no expert in Linux, SDR++, and certainly as you saw me fumble with SDR-angel, I'm certainly not an SDR-angel user. But I'm going to stick with it, and what I'd like to do is continue with this series of using the RSP with the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to stick with SDR-angel and see what other modes it can decode, and possibly create more videos and show you guys what I've learned. If you learned something that I haven't, please share it with me in the comment section. Let's engage with each other in the comment section of this video. Alright guys, have a wonderful weekend, 7-3, and I'll see you guys soon.